our next battleground, Infernal Shrines.
Look at me.
No Volskaya. This is very surprising to me that that's dropped in the priority there.
I think it is very surprising, mainly because it was a unified, kind of agreed upon map within North America, honestly internationally. After it originally came out, Temple Storm was comfortable being the first team being like, you know what, Volskaya Foundry, that's our stuff. We're going to go to it. But everybody, to a certain extent, has gained a lot of respect for it, made it probably about second or third highest value for the most part. And now, seems like it's dying, slowly but surely here in priority. And for me, a lot of it comes down to, I think a lot of people liked it because the predictability of the rotations based on the turrets, they liked how clear it was to find a win condition. Now, it's a little bit more difficult. It's still oppressive, but not the same way.
We've seen some adaptations in terms of draft, especially when we look at Figgy, who's been on Sergeant Hammer. They have droplets, very flexible backline, but Figgy loves to play mages. And we've seen the resurgence of Kael'thas. This is one of the better battlegrounds, I would say, for Kael'thas, mainly because of the Shrine. But as we saw from a team like Team Freedom a couple of weeks ago against LFM, LFM had a 2-0 lead in the series, and then we saw Infernal Shrines come back. We saw the split Greymane play from Team Freedom. Then we saw Endemic say, well, that's nice. We're just going to counter all your rotations. And I believe, you know, whether the Anubrak comes into play, something along those lines where it's like, okay, we need something different or we need to counter. And always who has that X factor potential with their draft. Sergeant Hammer, we know has been strong. I just wonder if HeroesHearth just targets that, takes that out of the table and plays around other things.
It is going to be cool to see how this unfolds here, especially just because of all the ways to approach Infernal Shrines. But one way they can approach it there is still going to be with the Abathur. LFM not willing to risk that whatsoever.
There was such a long period of time after some of the Medivh nerfs that he just disappeared.
Yeah.
Now, he's always there in the ban slot.
It's because he's really good at the game. And now, you don't have so much of a trade-off of like, what role do I fill? He does a lot of damage. He does a lot of good damage, and he has some of the best supporting. He literally has the highest damage and healing output out of any character in the game. One portal is all it takes, and you have higher damage and higher healing.
Ancient Blessing says,
okay, you're right.
Hold my potion.
Hold my potion.
Ancient Blessings is insane. Every time I just see everybody turn gold, I'm like, yeah, that person's probably, that's not going to be very good next few seconds for them. So we're going to see the Dahaka focus again, Dreadnought, to try and focus on McIntyre.
And normally I'd be like, this is a huge adjustment in a draft that is possibly too big to be able to recover. But the success that LFM got in the one game they banned the Dahaka, mixed with Dahaka's pretty good on Infernal Shrines, and how good of a performance McIntyre had, like, that was the first performance we've seen on Dahaka since Phase 2 Part 2 that I've seen where I go, I understand why Dahaka was picked. I think he suffers in the offlane compared to a lot of heroes because very few get value out of the global. Every brush stock was very high threat for HeroesHearth in Game 1 and 2.
Yrel seems likely, but I really wondered if we would get a Whitemane. Whitemane has great healing output on here. Obviously, it's healing per damage done, and when there's extra things to do damage to, definitely can help amplify the healing. Instead, it's going to be the Diablo, the control there, taking that away from Ishbu. HeroesHearth, we know they will play Johanna quite a bit. Muradin also comes to mind as a very high-played hero in North America, but we'll see if we get any type of play around that. I think the Deckard, the Jimmy Raynor, you have the Thrall. I really wonder, Raynor versus Phoenix, ever since the minor nerfs on Ace in the Hole for Raynor getting that bonus damage, it still seems to be enough.
Yeah, I think he overall still stands out across the board for me with the trade-off between the Raynor and the Phoenix. The only situations where Phoenix does gain that upper hand is off-laning, situations where you can gain value out of his solo clearing. I think Sky Temple is one of those better battlegrounds for that. But on Infernal Shrines, normally you would be like, well, around the control itself, we might be able to make that happen. But I think it just pulls enough away from the teamfight capability that you'd rather have the Raynor and that kill potential with that soft wave clear than you would risking that of the Phoenix. But might be something LFM end up going for themselves here, because they already got the Diablo.
And we saw Talking Trees on Thrall previously.
Yeah, we got it in Game 1.
And he went into the Frostwolf build. And then at 16, there's going to be the Whitemane ban, getting that percentage-based damage against the high health hero.
This is my
like
life.
Diablo. I'm watching a volley of events. Dread drops his pen. I look at the camera, and directly behind the camera is somebody tripping on the bots. I'm afraid to move here in the studio.
Yeah, no, I'm contagious, apparently.
This is what happens when you don't get gas, though. You just kind of trip up on yourself the rest of the way.
Yeah, get the clamps. Maev and Alex Straza, the pickup for LFM. I haven't gotten too much Alex Straza here in part number 2 since the release of Whiteman, even more so, but with her banned out, makes sense that we will get that pickup. One thing I do want to say, I really like Maev and Alex Straza together because Alex Straza normally, as long as we see the Cleansing Flame pickup, can really accent that dive kill potential opportunity around a Warden's Cage lie. You know, being stuck in a meteor death ball with a dragon flying above throwing fire at you is really intimidating.
Ooh, so you're advocating for Ragnaros to drop some more meteors down?
No, I don't know if I'm...
Okay, how do we feel? So Phoenix seems high priority, but with this amount of lockdown, Mage style, does this Mage style come to mind here, or is this just another Junkrat? Because they did go into a similar style with a Junkrat, and we lack that lethal kill potential.
I feel like the Junkrat suffers into a lot of these matchups too much.
Look, Figgy loves Li Ming, but this is Infernal Shrines, Dread. Like, targeting behind all this CC, Diablo can counter initiate, right?
Yeah.
So you walk forward, I flip you over, I bring you to my side.
Okay.
But more often than not, I'm going in.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of little skeletal defenders sprinkled around, and I'm Li Ming, and I'm like, well, you're over here, and that's the hard part for Li Ming here.
Yeah. No, I think
very
it's
hard.
It's like, you know, that field trip class that you went to a national forest for the first time, and they show you these beautiful, elegant trees that are colossal, and they'd be like, you know, hold your hands around it. That's the skeletal defenders around the Diablo tree, and then Li Ming's trying to throw the spells at the tree, but every little kid is hugging it. It's the skeletal defenders. They're protecting him. They're looking out for him, and that is why Li Ming suffers.
Dread's from Wyoming. Apparently they have bigger trees there.
That was in Michigan, but...
In Michigan. In Kentucky, you can just walk up in one man. I mean, maybe me because I got longer arms. I don't know. But I mean, maybe 2 people on a tree. You made it sound like a
no, I mean, it was like, yeah, you've never seen like the colossal... I don't want to throw out dimensions because it was so long ago that it's probably going to be unrealistic, but they're huge.
Dread was actually 3, so it was like 6 children.
It's just baby arms, like...
Yeah, it will be interesting. The one shrine area that I've always seen Li Ming excel in is top shrine.
Yeah.
Li Ming has great, because your choke potentials are there. It's just the middle and bottom shrine I think are more difficult to find that, but top shrine is where Li Ming can really shine.
I think the biggest way to kind of label that is not even so much that Li Ming herself thrives that much as that top choke is very easy to collapse and force a bad situation in, and Li Ming really likes those. Like, if she puts you in the lose-lose scenario, she makes sure that you feel the pain about as quick as possible, because she's going to find herself a nice little reset. It'll be interesting to see this unfold here. Even more so considering the Anu Barak pickup into the Alex Straza. One of my favorite feelings on planet Earth is being a late-game burrow charge Anu Barak and then seeing Abundance thrown on the ground. And
rewind.
Go, bam! Hit you with a 3-man slap. There's the impale. Rewind. Throw it back again. It's even cooler with Locust Swarm because then you just heal up a lot. And they, you know, all clump. Shout out to Locust Swarm. Don't think we'll get it this game, but I think it's an underestimated heroic choice.
I do miss it at times. I mean, they buffed it. I'm trying to think. It was a while ago, but they buffed up Locust Swarm enough that I felt it was reasonable, but the isolation, we know it's strong. And Li Ming obviously has the Disintegrate available for the Cocoon as well.
See if we get any teleport jukes on the Cocoon. One of the cooler interactions. Li Ming is truly a skill matchup into Anu Barak. Probably one of the coolest, I think, that we have in all of Heroes of the Storm. Disintegrate, if you use it on somebody else, you have the opportunity to just pretty much one-shot it down. But if you use it on the Li Ming, she can single-handedly just juke it through her teleport at the last possible second that it comes in. Just for anybody at home who's never seen the highest-end Li Ming and Anu Barak interactions, that is part of the reason you see that pickup. For both these teams, looking to pick up their Impalers, and it seems like pretty mirrored response here for now.
And nothing too crazy. Both the solo laners, we see this in competitive play. You rotate down from the top lane down to the mid in case there's any invade. It's a quick rotation. It took a while for some teams to start to, it was kind of the newer style because the the implications of getting early camps and how much damage and experience you could get off those early waves. We saw some teams start to play around that. And now ever since then, now it's just pretty much standard. Solo laners come down. Okay, you gank, no, we gank. Okay, actually, you just get yours, I'll get mine. Nobody's ganking here. So some definite changes in the macro play here from a lot of our teams.
Depending on how long HeroesHearth can actually stall this, they aren't going to commit to it. I was going to say, Thrall can make an easy rotation down. They were just a couple seconds off there for making that happen, and then getting essentially a upper hand within the rotations itself here over LFM. But LFM, they did a pretty reasonable job of trying to feign the rotation towards middle, but not committing one person to a lane whenever you're feigning a rotation pretty much makes it easy for somebody to scout anchor and not see anyone whatsoever and quickly get that information back, which is why HeroesHearth was so close to being able to respond. But now 21 seconds out here, J-Hal from our first Shrine phase. And both teams just going to look to get the Shaman. This should be an advantage probably towards the Urel, just for a little bit easier clear there on the top half.
Yeah, Maltho didn't go on a pale horse.
Yep.
And, you know, we see that. It's quite common in a lot of areas. But here, just making sure down in time is the Shrine active. You don't want to give up an early lead to an Alexstrasza. Alexstrasza hops into that Dragon Queen form. Once you hit that 20, 25 mark, right around 20, it does give you such a substantial advantage for clear that it's hard to gauge into. When you gauge into it, she's just getting value altogether.
Short burrow charge, a lot of focus there onto the body blocks as the abundance goes down along with the Dragon Queen tethered there. Fury gets the shadow charge out, flip over, McIntyre. He's out of here. First blood here for LFM.
This should be enough. The Dragon Queen almost expired here, but they've established such a lead. There is something, when we look at long-term and things that really impact the game, and sometimes it's the small things. BBJ, during that last engagement or the small skirmish towards the bottom after the camp was picked up, has 10 armor on Deckard, would walk forward and eat a lot of the Li Ming combos to keep damage off of that bottom tower. And we speak about the chip damage and coming in and just getting a minor amount of damage and then moving forward, and it just sets up for stronger plays later. Some of that damage that was negated would have already been through that tower, and it would have allowed LFM to be more aggressive here. Instead, HeroesHearth making different calls. They now have to walk away with just the wall and a small amount of damage on that fort. And if you translate that damage and the aggression potential from that early tower into where they could have, especially after that kill, that early fort could have been under threat more so than it was earlier. And it's really hard to say, here's the gravity of the play and the potential and the variables, yada yada. But BBJ did recognize the first Shrine is there and might have saved a potential early game snowball just off small minor plays.
Yeah, the only way to truly be able to accurately assess that is pretty much watch like every Infernal Shrines game played over the past probably 6 months and look at the early game threats and what you're able to get on the ins and outs there, especially since we've seen the adjustment towards the experience on towards those back forts.
Early forts off first objectives are where the snowballs actually happen.
Yeah. They really put you at a almost, I don't want to say irrecoverable, but definitely a advantageous kind of position. One thing we do see different in this game compared to the last is just from almost beginning to end, the Li Ming build. We do not get ourselves the Seeker or anything, but there's no, you know, Sergeant Hammer for HeroesHearth Esports, a more traditional build. And then almost 100% got to get Disintegrate. Great shadow charge there by Fury. Max range onto the minion to make sure he dodges that scroll of ceiling.
There was a moment of fear. I was like, man, Fury sure is walking down here aggressively. Yeah, the Impale's not there, but there's still a whole lot more. A half second later, he's probably locked in there. Might not be making that out alive. LFM, they have 4 members down on this camp, but HeroesHearth starting to show themselves as they move over here for the potential invade. It looks like they'll be able to take this.
Talent we did get here, J-Hal, is in fact the touch of death for McIntyre.
Doubling up.
Into Alexstrasza. I love this talent. Into any predictable support healing. To be able to choose to limit her opportunities, especially around the abundance there for 4 seconds, reducing all healing by 50%. Feels real good.
Well, I love that you pointed it out because I'm looking up. I'm like, man, is that touch of death? And I think for HeroesHearth, the level of communication that they have, especially the experience factor of being together between BBJ and McIntyre, is that we also get the Emerald. And the Emerald is more of the... Obviously, it can be AoE for touch of death. It's marked targets. But then the Emerald hitting in that target, they could potentially shut down a tremendous amount of healing as long as they coordinate correctly and they don't stack everything. there's a lot of healing denial here for HeroesHearth.
Even when looking at outside of the back game situations of how devastating that could be for LFM in these fights based on how HeroesHearth wants to play it out. It even kind of soft counters some of the other adjustments just from the talents. Diablo, natural self-healing. Ardent Defender usually has self-healing on Urel. Not so much the Ardent Defender because the Unstoppable, but you see what I'm saying there. And then also Dominance from Li Ming. So everybody has enough healing that it's like, even if you don't get the massive Alexstrasza play where you counter healing, you're limiting so many heroes from essentially using their kits.
Well, we'll see as the engage starts here. HeroesHearth aggressing forward. There's one heal down. It all comes down to the dragon. We also have Cleansing Flame, not that life binder for a lot of the reasons you mentioned. It's right now even for now until this Dragon Queen comes out. We'll see if HeroesHearth opts to try and go in. McIntyre with the flank potential.
There's the heal. Lightning Breath already dropped. Nobody going to execute too hard there as we see BBJ drop down the Lornado. 25 Skeletal Defenders for LFM. Another Abundance proc there as LFM is just going to be kiting away here, trying to survive. There's the Ardent Defender as the last rites ends up coming through. HeroesHearth Esports, though, confidently winning this fight so far as the Cleansing Flame comes down, gets the heal, gets the damage, droplets. First to drop there for LFM. And HeroesHearth seem to make it out, but the Skeletal Defenders are close.
There's massive heal there that will keep LFM in this for now. 5 more is all they need. Swabs goes in, just 1 more. If they can get that splash damage, it will cost the life of Swabs. Figgy just trying to snipe through there. Fury, he's caught in deep. I don't think he's going to make it out of here alive. Disintegrate will capture that, but that is 3 members down. I'm surprised that LFM got as antsy as they did with the lead that they had. They had the poke potential there. They really wanted that objective. They got it, but it's not going to accomplish much here, Dread.
Yeah, they definitely lost a little bit too much when considering the opening and positioning there. I feel like it was the focus onto those Skeletal Defenders. As we said, it did come, it was, I feel like, the right choice at first, but then once the focus came in and the pressure by HeroesHearth, finding a way to stall it out and slow things down a little bit would have been in their best interest here, but no time wasted by LFM. Instead of sieging through mid, being the man down, getting that off-lane pressure towards that bottom fort, which they had set up based on that first Punisher.
Between Fury and Swabs now, especially Fury on the Diablo, post 13 with Deckard Cain, and you've got a Thrall with Wind Fury and a Raynor with Inspire in there. And once Ancient Blessings comes out, Diablo's health bar, especially you look at Ancestral Wrath picked up, and then potentially the 16 more into that Frost Wolf. There is blow-up potential like crazy on that front line, so these fights could get escalated very quickly post 13 and 16 for HeroesHearth.
One of the most terrifying roles I feel like to play at all against the Deckard has to be the Warrior when you hit the 13 spike. If you hit multiple targets with the Ancient Blessing, it is tough.
Well, we're going to get debilitating rounds, not the giddy up this time, so being able to survive, getting the heal off the 16 potentially going into that. Getting more control with the slow on penetrating round.
LFM know that HeroesHearth have at least 2 members on bottom. But so far, very little information has been given by either one of these teams. Now LFM displaying 2 members towards top, worried about getting this well before that top shrine ends up spawning. Anchoring from Fury as he throws down some of the flames there. Figgy will be able to make it out, but no well obtained. HeroesHearth still have that for the next shrine. And it's really interesting how little pressure we see being applied from either side. If anyone has a comp to get away with it, I would argue it's kind of HeroesHearth, but Thrall Malthael, not the best double melee to siege, and then it's just really relying on their Raynor. And New Barak, not the healthiest warrior. Like, they have the comp that has the better siege, but they don't have the supporting tools for it, whereas LFM just don't really have the siege. So a lot of these teams feels like it's just going to be like Shrine, bring the battle, whoever wins, wins.
I really want to see the timing around these Shaman camps, because the Shaman camps themselves are never really controlling. And I bring this up a lot, is the control. And we look right there at the screen, the middle part is the main focus, is controlling that half point. of the lane. Allows you to, whether you're aggressing forward or defending, it creates different opportunities for your team based on that lane control, which is why a later Shaman camp generally wins out, but that's normally earlier in the game. Later in the game, the sieging potential behind it, like we're seeing now, is definitely more, as there's going to be a tether pulling Ishbu in. But while the Shrine is active, the early control to HeroesHearth, the positioning is safe. Now HeroesHearth, they'll have to defend against the Shaman camp to control the Shrine, which is what LFM is now doing.
Corwin is the man sent to get rid of that Shaman. Droplets not running off. Normally, droplets and the kill targets are the ones that you would see move up in that choke and try and zone off. Scroll of Ceiling goes down onto Fury. Last rights as well. A lot of damage there coming through, but Diablo heals himself up here. Fury is alive. Swab's getting the Cleansing Flame along with the heals. BBJ is going to be the focus there with the Ancient Blessing. Lightning Breath thrown down. A lot of damage there and a lot of pepper being distributed 1 for 1 here between the two teams. But Swab's, well, I guess he's got an Ardent Defender. Holds on for now.
See, as we see another heal come out, Dark Chimera in this Dragon Queen form will move forward. No support on the side of HeroesHearth. That's always more important in these team fights. As it now looks like LFM establishing control, establishing dominance. HeroesHearth, they'll make their way down to the bottom or the mid lane, try and pick up 16, see if they have time for a re-engage. Most likely not, but the threat of 16 will definitely allow them to defend easier. As once HeroesHearth shows, you can see on the minimap, the rest of LFM, they're trying to get some early damage in on that fort.
See what LFM can make happen here with this J-How, because we're sitting 13 minutes into the game and not a single fort has ended up falling. LFM's done their best to be able to prep on bottom. Not successful in achieving that for themselves. If we see these later stages, the Punisher failed to get too many structures, I feel like HeroesHearth is going to be thankful, because their composition is very good at forcing late game picks with the Cocoon and the last rights.
16, discipline showed by LFM, making sure to wait. They had control, get 16, then they pick up the Punisher. Now they'll move forward. They get a free fort. No threat in return. It looks like they might try and make a double fort play here. Or yeah, triple fort play inevitably here. Obviously that bottom one, very, very low. This middle one should be able to siege upon pretty easily.
It's nothing too major at this state of the game, but not baiting that over the wall has removed keep damage onto this Punisher, so a little bit of extra damage done to that on top. Normally you get the bait over just remove it from your opponents, but having that extra damage, source of damage, also helps. Saw the middle damage come through, bottom fort picked up. Now J-How, now that we see this is the decision making from LFM and bringing it back to that first Punisher, it was reliable to get a triple play there. They had enough damage over that bottom fort that it was pretty much dead. So really, they only got middle fort, half fort for free. And with that, I think LFM could have made these rotations a little bit faster, a little bit more crisp, and that would have been for sure a triple play there for them on those forts.
And if it was, so there's a couple of plays you can make. We'll get into it in a second. Fury, he's getting locked down already. The healing reduction is there, and that's enough to get the first kill, but we see the return damage. McIntyre and Trees trying to survive. Cleansing Flames is out, coming down. That's going to be a second snipe. There's going to be the resets coming in for Li Ming. It's a 2-for-2 trade, but
Chimera,
hello?
He's deep, baby.
Oh, my.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you land and you realize, I thought I was the red team. I can't help but feel like he thought he had one more Cleansing Flame left there, and then realized, oh, wait a minute, this is where I'm going to land, or the miscommunication somewhere down the line, but
he at least landed in fog.
I mean, that's a good point.
If you land in fog, that obviously helps.
He had a huge value in this fight, though, to be able to keep everybody up. With how fast the one-shot came in on Diablo, talk about Swab's mad value on that hammer. Hitting all 5 members, and look at this, droplets staying alive, a lot of damage. That is all Dark Chimera from above. It's just he joins a little bit too soon.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. If we look at experience, so keep towers are worth 800 XP, double obviously worth 1600, a fort worth 1500, generally a trade out. But Infernal Shrines brings up different rules to the game because the objective was in the top lane. You could make a play for that top keep wall, which we ended up seeing one tower taken down. And if you're playing the experience game, sure, it's there. But when it's based around structures, the top Punisher was the last one, meaning that it will either be mid or bottom next. You set up for the next Punisher, which is why we see the wells sniped at times, which is why we saw the rotation towards those forts. It gives you more control. The experience, you're not losing out on a lot of experience, but you're getting more control potentially moving forward. Right now, that's what they try to do after that last Punisher phase.
And as long as LFM is able to pick up that middle fort, which they're doing so with Li Ming right now, HeroesHearth is going to get this pressure towards top, will help their race to 20. It's going to be not fast enough of an advantage over the 20 spike for HeroesHearth not to get 20 in force. LFM will have a pretty big advantage of getting the opener to the first start of the shrine. So HeroesHearth probably is going to suffer about 15 to 20 skeletal defender difference here. And then with that, look to get the all-in.
Those forts only worth 250. I'm guessing that experience bar there, definitely more than 250. So the early lead is here for LFM. The Dragon Queen we know has been strong. You mentioned the rewind capabilities for an Anubrak post level 20. Once they get it locked in, see how quickly they'll be willing to initiate.
There it is, 20 down, and let's see what happens. LFM already end up burning here. The Lornado from HeroesHearth Esports, but as we said, the Dragon Queen from Dark Chimera, 27 skeletal defenders for HeroesHearth. Fury is the focus. Burrow Charge comes in along with the Shadow Charge flip over. Swabs ends up going in, drops the Arc Defender as he goes very low. The Cocoon lasts right onto Droplets, ends up getting the kill. The first here out of the skirmish, but the flip back is going to get the kill onto Ishbu. Reset one there is McIntyre falling low. The cleansing frame from above, but Figgy finds the reset. He dodges the orb. Talking Trees just barely skirts by here, but LFM down 2 members.
See how long they can hold. Mouthail just now coming back. Fury goes in for the charge. That will help the numbers advantage, as now we see LFM. They end up taking this shrine.
J-How, that was a huge setback there. Not just losing the Rainer in that type of situation.
That's your only range.
That is your only damage to defend this thing. That was not only a unlikely to recover situation for the Rainer, but that is their main defense. Bait over the wall is very crucial. Inevitable end probably used, as you see there from McIntyre. Now the siege is up. It's not like LFM has the best sieging in the world, but the lack of damage for a Mortar Punisher this late is certainly going to hurt. Focus onto Dark Chimera. Abundance comes through with the last rites. See ya, nerd.
Oh, just turn it around. Fury, he's going to try and have to turn this around. See if Figgy maybe gets a reset. Fury's life is probably forfeit at this point. Does end up getting that life steal there. Unable to help confirm a kill, and that is Soul's reset. LFM
does it get a keep?
Got a little ambitious there with their aggressiveness. The Punisher distracted by Ishbu. Turns his attention to the keep, but unable to get it taken down. HeroesHearth holds on to a key structure.
And now we have a very interesting situation for LFM as this game moves on. With that middle fort available, they can prep and kind of poke and prod towards it. But if HeroesHearth uses the downtime to get the offlane pressure into their favor, it's going to be pretty predictable that LFM go and maybe overextend for that middle keep. We'll see if HeroesHearth can find ways to punish some of the eagerness that I'm assuming LFM will show here, because we've talked about the lack of structures throughout this game. We're 20 minutes in, and there's still quite a few forts on the board. No keep completely down quite yet. And so I think that we're going to see a situation where HeroesHearth really rotate towards it, but LFM rotates towards it. With HeroesHearth showing on bottom, it's not too difficult to force it here. And now that was the exact situation I was hoping to see HeroesHearth force.
2,000 health was all that it took.
And look where Alex Straza is. She was nowhere near for that siege, so you can force that fight.
Oh, trust me, when I hear you talking about it, I'm like, that's perfect. And then I see the execution, and I'm like, well, didn't quite happen. So credit to LFM for taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
On the side of HeroesHearth, by the way, we're going to get Earth and Shields. The amount of lockdown that we've seen from the Maiev, keeping everybody clumped up, getting in those clutch team fights, that will allow some extra shields for your allies that are in there. Mid lane, of course, with the catapults.
Burrow charge in, droplets. The rewind already used. That's a big cooldown. Focus now on to Fury. He gets an abundance. Last right thrown down. The knockout there of that abundance with that Lornado.
Well, they might have another.
Yeah, and that's a cleansing flame. So that was not only a kill there for free onto the Diablo with the great setup of HeroesHearth Esports, but now another major cooldown available.
Oh, LFM finds themselves in a very precarious spot. Most notably because of the Cleansing Flame and the Dragon Queen used there. Diablo should likely be back in time for the Shrine phase, but their defense of this situation, especially with the Shaman camp, makes it very scary with an Anubarak on the other side that this might, they just use Ancient Blessings, that's ripping through this keep.
It's going to be a lot of damage there. Probably no defense onto it. Past that point. Heroes Hearth pick up that keep for themselves. They have some pressure through mid. 22 seconds out. Somebody for Heroes Hearth has to enter towards the catapult, put damage onto the court eventually. This lone guy, he's not scary. He needs friends. He needs 2 other pals next to him, and suddenly that's going to be a problem. And when that ends up happening, LFM can force over this top shrine.
They're afraid of the back door. I was going to say, if they have Cleansing Flame, which they do in 20 seconds, they can siege up and maybe backdoor late enough, especially level 22.
Use the Cleansing Flame to interrupt.
Yeah, for Heroes Hearth, they now have potential lethal in this top lane by taking that keep down. Without that keep, it's not a guarantee without multiple members dying on the side of LFM that they could end. Here's Dragon Queen, it's out. They're stuck in a weird spot though here, Dreadnought.
Look at that armor though, out from Swabs onto all 5 members. Focus goes on to Fury. Last Rites gets the kill, but can LFM turn it around? Figgy ends up getting a lot of damage, ends up dropping too. Heroes Hearth Esports just wiped the floor with LFM over this skirmish. Quickly ridding of 4, and now the world is really there. Swab's kiting away, but in this downtime, nobody's going to waste any time. Heroes Hearth make their way to the core, and I think close out this series.
Urel's like, well, I'm just going to go to core. It's my best bet at this point. I can't defend. McIntyre obviously will be there. Last Rites will be available in a few seconds.
Oh,
doesn't matter.
He's going to get it. That's the real MVP there. 1 extra stack. Respect that, Mac. Yeah, I respect it. Good call.
Heroes Hearth, Dreadnought, they end up clutching it out here, but LFM gave them all they could handle. The late game, that one pick, the dive, the commitment for Heroes Hearth. It was a Shaman camp. It's like, let's take top 4. Oh, maybe we can get a kill. They got a kill, and LFM was unable to recover after that.
The one thing for me that was, I don't know the proper adjective. Surprising, but I mean that with a more positive kind of approach to it, was how Heroes Hearth addressed almost every fight the exact same way, but that last one's outcome so drastically different there. I can't help but feel like it was a mixture of Ancient Blessings use with Focus Fire being more on point.
Earth and Shields.
But it was ridiculous how fast the value came out there for Heroes Hearth Esports, and that they were able to stick to it, you know, and hold their own there. And able to also, with Talking Trees, come in today and have, for the most part, I feel like a pretty dominant performance. Minus, you know, maybe the last game and some draft errors, I feel like that came out of game 3.
The game number 3 felt like an anomaly because of the draft, and then more importantly, some of the talent picks, because it was very much committed. It's like, well, if we're drafting this, we might as well go all in. Sometimes all in doesn't always pay off the way that you want it to, but Heroes Hearth, they do pick up a 3-1 victory, do remain at the top of North America, and with every single win that they have, Dreadnought, it just means they're that much closer to guaranteeing their BlizzCon spot.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool to be able to talk to, you know, Heroes Hearth. I feel like after everything that they're going through, mentality-wise, what they've been going on, is just, you know, from their perspective, what are they feeling, what are their thoughts, and what does this even mean? Because I look at this and I go, this could be one of those moments where you kind of go, we're Heroes Hearth, it doesn't matter. But you can also be like, this means still a lot more to us in this type of situation with their adjustments here moving forward and still being pretty dominant for the most part.
It seems like their coordination, combinations are still there. Even in their loss, you could see that a lot of the communication, what they've known to make work, especially between the combo of Ishbu and BBJ, as long as you've got that solidified, I mean, I think you're pretty solid. It doesn't matter who comes in. Somebody can easily work into that, and that will be a question they answer going forward. But a lot of the same traits that we know for Heroes Hearth definitely had shown themselves. It's interesting because on the 3 games that they won, I see a lot of kills, and the first 2 games that they won, they weren't flawless, but they were still strong.
Yeah.
And I look at the kills, and it's 14-4, 17-7, I think, in the last game. So there are some minor setbacks there, but they still had the dominant, we can still kill you a lot factor that tends to win out games most of the time.
Yeah, they still displayed the relying on team synergies within the default base kit, right? Like not relying on those heroic wombo combos and just using the Li Ming into the Diablo, though in that game it did have some miscommunication errors. It wasn't enough to be that big of a setback for HeroesHearth, at least not here today. But that was curious to see that kind of developing, even though that was from, you know, the longstanding members there between Crowan and Ishbu. For me, I feels like it showed some of the drawing of resources to be able to make up for communication in other areas of the team is then to being displayed through just those two even together. But they were able to have that happen and hold their own and still kind of keep their mentality aligned there. And I feel like that shows a lot here for HeroesHearth.
On the other side of the coin, we did have LFM, and for them to show the resiliency, the strength that they had within this series, we heard from Dark Chimera, and he did say that, look, the emphasis might not be on this series this weekend. They still have another one to go. They have Endemic. They still find themselves in the 7 seed. Simplicity sitting right above them, but they've already had that head-to-head. So LFM has to find wins in other series. I think Endemic, when they look towards that, obviously, for people that don't know, Endemic has a sub for this weekend. We can get into that later this weekend. One player unable to make it through injury, we found out. But Endemic is a target for them. They need wins to get out of that 7 seed. We'd have to look, obviously there's more to it than meets the eye. When we see just the match record, it then goes to game record and having that plus minus. So that is something that they will have to keep track of, is not just to get wins, but to get those important 3-0s, 3-1s, maybe stay away from those 3-2s, but definitely the wins. And speaking of wins, we got BBJ winner today. BBJ, congrats on the victory today.
Thank you. It's a pretty fun one.
A fun one indeed. We saw some interesting styles, I guess, from you guys today, especially in that game number 3. Very all in into the blow-up composition, the double reset. We even saw talent diversity from the Diablo. When you hit that game number 3, were you feeling just like, look, we're feeling it, we're riding confident, this is something we're experimenting with, or is it just LFM? They played really well that game.
I think we thought we could one-shot through the Yrel and white main armor and the cleanse, and we just couldn't execute it. They just kept sneaking away with 1 HP before we would get our resets, and a couple things go differently. I think we win that game, but they played well that game for sure.
LFM has obviously been a team that has given top teams fits, and they fought you guys very well at certain points of the game. It seemed like you guys had a lot of control in game number 1 and 2, but there was some minor hiccups along the way. Game number 4 obviously was very well contested by LFM. Is that just the familiarity factor for you guys this weekend? Was it LFM? Where do you kind of accredit maybe the contention that we had in today's series?
Well, we only had 1 scrim block with... We actually never scrimmed with this 5 roster we used today, this whole week. We always had, 1 or 2 people missing. So we definitely were a little rusty coming into this, but I think they definitely are improving.
All right. Well, we'll have more for you as we go forward. I'm going to give you over to Dreadnought.
Hey, BBJ, here, some of my questions are just being, from some of the struggles and adjustments that you've been going through, and as you were alluding to there with some of the difficulties with practice, what is the team doing from a morale standpoint to be able to keep head high and have the success here that you've had even today against LFM?
We're not worried. Arth gave us a decent amount of time to prep before he left, and I agree with what he said, where I think we pick up a player who's dedicated and, wants to improve with us, then I think we'll be in a better state than we were with him. And no offense to him, obviously, he's a great player. But.
Yeah. And then so with that, I guess going forward, can you give us some insight into some of the steps and kind of thought process from your guys' perspective on how to approach these next couple of weeks?
Our goal is hopefully Oct wins this next set against Tempo, and then we win on Sunday, and I think we're almost guaranteed BlizzCon out of it. And then if that happens, then we can just work on figuring out who the best fit is for our team going into BlizzCon. And if not, then we'll just try out everyone that we think is worthy and then see who's the best fit.
That's awesome. And, just with that, I guess, has it been one of those situations where I guess from you guys as a roster, and especially being one of the longest standing one, like how big of a adjustment mentality-wise, I guess, has that been for you? Or is it really just he has given you ample amount of time and that you guys feel like it's just another day in the office here, especially with Trees in the past you guys have had with him?
Arth's great mechanically, obviously, but he wasn't really bringing much for us in comms or draft strategy or any of that. So it's not really switching up that. It's just figuring out who's the best to fill his spot to keep up his mechanical prowess that we had in that role.
Well, you guys displayed pretty good prowess here today, and congratulations on the win. I'm gonna give you back to J-Hop.
BBJ, let's talk about these standings a little bit, because Octalysis does face Tempo Storm next. You guys also play them on Sunday, so it's more Octalysis, we hope you win today, but not Sunday. And obviously you guys have a very good record, but it comes down to that plus minus if things get shaky. How much are you looking forward to this next match to try and solidify that spot to BlizzCon?
I expect Oct to win this net set pretty handily. So then Temple will be at 3 losses, Freedom will be at 3 losses, and then as long as we get good win, like we get enough map wins going forward, then even if we drop 2 sets somehow, we still are guaranteed first seed.
Is this something that coming into the weekend, you guys look at the standings, you guys say, look, these are the styles that we need to win. Obviously, you'd like to win 3-0 versus LFM. But is there a certain part that you target, whether it is your opponents playing each other, whether it's controlling your own fate? When you look forward at the standings in the schedule, how much talking or how much discussion did you guys have about this weekend?
I mean, we were just trying to get playing with 5 people this whole week. Kind of, it was a struggle.
Fair enough. Obviously, you guys are in a good position, and we look forward to seeing who you guys move forward with. And congratulations on the victory today. The floor is yours for shoutouts.
Shoutouts to Trees, first of all, for stepping in kind of last minute, helping us out. Shout out to HeroesHearth.com. Great website. You can check out all the builds, guides, shirts. Arthalon's shirt is still there. I don't know how long that lasts, but you guys need to check it out before it goes away. Shout out to Twitch chat, obviously. Shout out to Renal, Cawthon, and Romedy. And shout out to my mom again. I haven't done that one in a while.
Well, congrats, BBJ. We'll see you on Sunday.
Thanks.
Dread, we talked about the teams a little before that interview. Obviously, HeroesHearth has a lot that they need to solidify moving forward. But we heard from him. It seems the role that they need filled is simply just, we need somebody with the mechanical skill to fit in. We don't need a whole lot else.
And I feel like that is great, even more so on that theory I was kind of talking about before with the consistency within that. If that role doesn't demand that much in terms of leadership in communication and things like that, it's just you need a guy to point and click and follow up. Those are some of the best ones you can find, especially if consistency is what you're looking for. Every team needs a rock that they always know, no matter what happens, that we can rely on this guy to make that happen here. And if that's what they're looking for, I feel like HeroesHearth very much can use this as that development and kind of growth towards BlizzCon.
Just reach out to me, guys, if you need a Sylvanas main. Either way, we've got a heck of a series coming up. Octalysis versus Tempo Storm will be our nightcap today. You do not want to miss it, but for now, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more HGC action.
Being displayed here by LFM.
Crowan just blinks out of the root, trying to get the safety. That blink is down for now. Fury comes in. There's going to be the stun. The Plasma Cutter's going to lock in. Salvo comes out. It's a trade 1-for-1 as we see Hammer goes down. Now we're getting resets for Crowan. There's going to be a second kill. Seeing if he can get more. No Calamity. Can't just jump in there, but Droplet's low. There's going to be another one. That's 3 down for now. See if he gets another blink and teleport in. Got him with that secret.
Over that objective. Hold on, though. Caught out is going to be Ishbu. Stormbolt goes down. Along with the roots, they get him, but he's going to be back here in 4 seconds as he does have souls. BBJ ends up throwing down the scroll of ceiling, but no setup quite yet. Mac eats the Stormbolt. Talking Trees now joining the rest of the fight. Swab leaps forward. No hammer use yet as he gets the cleanse there. Droplets falling low. McIntyre even lower. Scroll of ceiling comes out, and here's the flank there as they go in. Try to get the damage out. The 20 proc is there, but Phoenix is dead.
Ishbu going in. He's trying to make the follow-up plays. He comes back on that Diablo, as you mentioned, had the souls, had the capability, and Crowan comes in.
The containment disc, splitting up targets and, you know, making HeroesHearth Esports kind of get caught out here as we see the stun coming through actually onto Figgy. He gets a concussion mine coming out. There is the containment disc, but the salvo used, and as we said, containment disc delay.
It's still going, though.
Mission
it gets the kill. It gets the kill. There was no follow-up interrupt. BBJ still surviving on that clone, so getting a lot of damage. There's going to be the bunker. Fury trying to survive, but here comes a pulse bomb from Crowan. Doesn't confirm the kill just yet, but they do finally get the takedown, and that is Soul's reset.
Below 2. Junkrat's up in 10. Dark Mare now falling low. He gets the heals. He comes through and actually holds on. Tether ends up going as we see the jet propulsion now. Crowan diving on the back line there. No pulse bomb yet, but no pulse bomb needed as he comes in. Gets 1, gets 2, and it looks like it might be all she wrote here as the pulse bomb goes through. 4 for nothing.
This is a diversion. It's either you have to respond to one place or the other. Looks like they are going to find the response, though. Ishbu comes in. There's going to be the healing from Whitemane, and now BBJ is instantly the target. The rewind comes in here from Fury. Gets the takedown on there. There's the VP. X-Strike coming down. We're going to see LFM might try and close this out right now.
And Droplets getting the vorpal to dodge the Crowan damage and able to dodge the Shadow Charge stun there at the end, healing it up.
He has nowhere to go.
He is going to be just fine at 3 for nothing there. As we have said, HeroesHearth Esports now struggling here. As we said, the Dragon Queen from Dark Chimera, 27 skeletal defenders for HeroesHearth. Fury is the focus. Burrow Charge comes in along with the Shadow Charge. Flip over. Swabs ends up going in. Drops the Arc Defender as he goes very low. The Cocoon last rights onto Droplets. Ends up getting the kill. The first here out of the skirmish, but the flip back is going to get the kill onto Ishbu. Reset 1 there as McIntyre falling low. The cleansing frame from above, but Figgy finds the reset. He dodges the Ore Talking Trees just barely. Skirts by here, but LFM down 2 members.
See how long they can hold. Mouthail just now coming back. Fury goes in for the charge. That will help the numbers advantage, as now we see LFM. Here's Dragon Queen. It's out. They're stuck in a weird spot, though, here, Dreadnought.
Look at that armor, though, out from Swabs onto all 5 members. Focus goes on to Fury. Last rights gets the kill, but can LFM turn it around? Figgy ends up getting a lot of damage, ends up dropping 2. HeroesHearth Esports just wiped the floor with LFM over this skirmish. Quickly.